Hi there, I'm Andrea Garvey and welcome to The Creative Spark. Every week, I'm going to share a simple 10-minute practice to help you return to your sketchbook or your art journal and make space for creativity in your everyday life. I hope you enjoy them and I'll see you in the studio. Okay, you guys, you're in for fun today. This is one of my favorite little techniques that I do when I'm kind of like in that place where I'm not sure what I want to do, but I want to play with watercolors. I'm kind of stuck on an idea, is that I often turn to flowers for inspiration and some color swatching. And the colors could be anything you want to play with, but it's just really, really fun. I wanted to show you this page that I've done. This is another one where I'm just going to work with shapes of flowers. This is a beautiful magnolia. It's not going to be the exact same shape, but it just gives me the inspiration that I need. I'm working in a moleskin album, watercolor album. And then I just have a whole bunch of brushes. I'll see which ones we end up using and playing with, maybe all of them, just try them. But I just grab a bunch of brushes. So I have an angle shader here. This is just a flat across and a few different size rounds. And then some watercolors. That's it. And it could be any watercolors that you want. No big deal. And so how I get started is I pick my favorite colors, which is usually like a pink. And I just start to kind of have fun and think about the shapes a little bit, but it's more like a whimsical thing. But I'm also just playing around with the colors and swatching and just trying different things. So I'm not really trying to make this beautiful flower that's right here. This is just me playing around with different colors and seeing what it's going to look like when I add a little bit more water, if I add less water. How pretty is that? If I add water first on my page, I want you to just experiment. And instead of doing the just little squares up and down, sometimes you'll see people swatching like that, which is awesome. I get a little bored doing it that way. So I try to always turn it into something that's just a little bit more fun for me. So I thought we could play around with that. So that's with the angle shader. This is a little bit bigger. This is what number is this? So, this is a King Art and it's a 1/2 inch. So now I want to do some green and I'm just going to do that same kind of stroke where all I'm doing is I'm pushing down and I'm kind of turning and pulling up, but I'm really not doing it for anything else than to just see like, what does that color look like with water? What does that look like if I use a little bit more, a little bit less? I'm just going to add even some more right now. And it's just kind of fun to like mess around. So that's interesting. What would it look like if I took some blue? I got some blue over here to the left and I plopped some blue in here. Let's see. Whenever I'm teaching watercolor, I always want to remind you that water is your friend. Like you want to use a lot of water. You want to let it all do what it wants to do. So I'm just going to tweak my little shape here. But I want you to just experiment and let that run. And then this will eventually dry. It'll be so pretty when that dries. Oh my gosh. And so when you're doing these little flowers, you can try all different colors. So let's grab, this is what is this? An 8. Okay, so let's grab another pretty color over here. I'm dipping it in water and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to push down and pull up. And then in the next one, let's not do paint, but just the water that's left on the brush. I want you to see what it's like when you go light to dark with that same color. So here's one. Let me just finish it off to the end here. Okay, so you've got our dark pink, a little bit more left. And every time I went back into the water, I didn't grab more paint. I just kept brushing, and I just love how that looks. But let's do another one, maybe right here. I'm going to do the same sort of thing. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to press down, pull up. I'm going to use a lot of water. I'm going to press down, pull up. So you could imagine like a whole page of these types of petals, whether you do it in, you know, like this little watercolor album I have, or you do it across like this. You could set up your whole swatching that way. This could be like a really cool design. So I've got my first set of pink. I'm going to leave that one because I want to show you what that's going to look like dry. But now I'm going to add another color to this one. Let's see what it looks like when I add a little bit of a darker pink. And let's just see what happens when I start to mix this a little bit. The idea of this little exercise is, one, for just simply playing, but also to really kind of start to notice, what are you liking? Like, what works for you? And let's just bring this down a little bit. I'll make these into some flowers in a minute. What are the colors that you're liking? You could even write on here which pink this was, what two colors this was. It could just become a little place for you to experiment with. Now, you definitely want to change your water when it gets too dark, but just for the sake of our quick little creative tip, I am going to leave it. Leave it. Maybe this is part of the practice too. I'm going to do two different things. I want to grab this orange and go with this paint right on the dry paper. I'm just going to do this. And then, this is just for fun, I'm going to just use water. It's got that pink water on here, but that's okay. You can probably barely see it. Okay, now I'm going to go back into that orange and drop in this orange. This is a pretty bright orange. So you could do your swatches, you can do your petals by actually just putting down some water first if you want to try and see what the difference is. And we'll see what that's gonna look like dry. And then I want you to just practice your pushing down, pulling up, which to me, I like doing that on a dry area over wet, but I just want to show you that, like, watercolor, there's so many different ways to do it. I just want to watch my time, so we're not going to go over too much. And then I'm going to go back into this green. Let's just find another couple colors to mess around with. I don't know what this color is, but I think it's dark. Let's see. Ooh, it's pretty though. And I'm just going to drag this brush, and where there's the most pigment, which is at the top, it's going to get darker. But the thing is, I want you to just let it all dry and see how beautiful it can look. Try it with just water. These were supposed to be my leaves. They didn't really turn out that way, but that's what happens when you just start messing around. Like, things are gonna take a different turn, so that's fine. I wanted to see what a little purple would look like in there. Okay, let's see what this looks like in there. So you can just drop in a fun little color to mix and blend. Okay. Whoopsie, and I've already gone into the wrong color there. Let me grab some blue over here. This is one of my favorite colors. Is it in? Yes, I want to make sure it's in. So the more paint you have, the darker it's going to be. Now I'm totally taking all of that paint off. See, that was a lot of paint I had on here. And now I'm going to show you. Here's more water. fun, huh? So you can then just go to town and make just marks and shapes, and you could do this instead of swatching and going across. You could start all your red and then change your colors if you want in a line. You can have it as any way you want it to be. I just thought it's more fun to be kind of a little bit wild, but then play around and start to really notice, oh, wait, that's like too low. Sorry. You can play around and just really start to notice, how does the water feel? What's happening to my colors? Make a little note, like look at this one again. So you're going, how pretty is that? All of these are completely different colors, letting that water dry. So I'm gonna let that water dry, and then I'll come back in a second and we'll see how beautiful it is. Okay, it's pretty dry. And sometimes when your paper gets wet too, it buckles a little bit. So you can just put a clip down there and then it will flatten when it's permanently dry. So it's really interesting to go back in and start to really look at the gradients. And this right here is called a bloom. It's one of my favorite things that happens with watercolors. Look how gorgeous that is. It's over here, here. That's why it's super, super important to let the water dry naturally. Don't try to brush it up or, cover it up or anything. Just let it be natural, because this is the beauty of watercolor. And imagine this whole page filled with your strokes, with your colors, and turn your swatching into something really fun. That's what I think you should do. I'd love to know too. You could even write it in the comments. What is your favorite way to do your swatches and your colors? Like, I'm always drawn to these two things here. I also wanted to let you know that we're going to link to a free beginner's guide to watercolors that has lots of fun tips in there too, just in case you want to get a little refresher on watercolors, if it's been a while, or if you're just new and you want to learn a little bit about that. That would be great. And of course, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel, because I'm trying to do these weekly and give you a little creative tip. Under 10 minutes, no idea. We might be a tiny bit over, but I will see you next time. Bye-bye.